The Sinister Six vs. Kakashi. We will have the original Sinister Six members, but some of their most recent forms. So it will be the Grim Hunter, Sergei Kravenov, Max Dillon, aka Electro, William Baker Sandman, Quentin Beck, aka the Master of Illusion, Mysterio, Adrian Toombs, aka the Vulture, and finally the Superior Octopus, versus Kakashi from the Pain arc. This fight will take place in Marvel's New York City, where all four boroughs will be in use, along with the unique locations in there, such as the Morlock tunnels. Some might say this is more of a advantage to Kakashi. Well, it's more of a advantage to the six, as if they were to be placed in almost anywhere else, Sandman wouldn't be able to do most of his gigantic feats, and Elektra wouldn't have the mobility he normally has, and same with Ock, and Craven wouldn't have all his traps, and Mysterio wouldn't have all his trickery, and, well, you get the idea. It's meant to play to all the characters' strengths. So, without further ado, let's get into the speed scaling for the six. Starting off with overall speed, since it's more of an overarching thing, since they all have fought the same person and they've all been beaten by the same person. As I said in other videos, Spider-Man has dodged bullets. He's dodged multiple lasers from multiple opponents, with the main example I keep on bringing up being Light Master, a character with the ability to shoot and make light-based constructs, with him also being able to fly at the speed of light and not teleport, but travel at the speed of light, like a glowing beam through reflective surfaces. He, with this, it gives Spider-Man light speed scaling, with Spider-Man at many a times not even using his eyesight, him mainly using his spider sense, to dodge them. I learned this a long time ago. Never listen to Mysterio, not because he tends to go on and on. He's got illusions. They gas, but the helmet gives his speech pattern some mind-bending properties. On the lower level in terms of combat ability, but he does wield a vast arsenal with him using insane illusions that can trick Spider-Man, and no, most of these are described with using drugs or, well, hallucinogenic gas. So it can't necessarily be blocked by Kakashi, but he does sometimes use physical distractions like giant plumes of smoke that come out of his suit, to the point it can fuck with Wolverine, who has an enhanced set of smell, to where he can track people moving around in an airplane where he's in a completely sealed off portion from everyone else in the airplane, with Mysterio getting him to kill all the X-Men. In terms of other illusions, he has holograms to trick his foes. He is a master at faking his own death. Yes, seriously, he does this a lot. And he can also fuck with people's minds to the point that they think this is happening to them. His suit is also quite good, with it having an electric field around it. It can grant him the ability to spring up walls, walk on them, and create this acid field to block Spider-Man's webbing. It also has knockout gas on the parts of its cape. So, overall, Mysterio is pretty good, but compared to the rest, he will play more of a supportive role and not really do much of the fighting, but he will play a pretty major part in making Kakashi pretty weak. I fought Daredevil. I was in the Sinister Six. I am faster, stronger, and smarter than 100 men at my age. No flunky with a pistol gets the drop on me. Vulture is seemingly strong enough to match Spider-Man, and by match I mean hurt him. But if it is, but if his suit is destroyed, he loses all his powers, as he's just a old man in his 90s. His suit makes him strong enough to smash through blimps and also withstand pretty harsh gravity. He's also able to uh, outpace Spider-Man at certain points and launch his feathers at his opponents like ranged projectiles, with his main move being to drop people out of the sky. Yes, it's his main sort of tactic, pick people up and then just send them falling. It's kind of funny. You try to make your mark in this world to do something that'll last. That will tell everybody who comes after you, I was here. To make a statement for the ages. Took me a while to find my statement, to figure out what I could do that would make the world stop and take a notice. I would create a long-lasting piece of real-life art, something that the world would remember no matter how long it took me to finish it. I would call it The Death of Spider-Man. It would be my masterpiece. It would be glorious. And the best part of it all, it would last forever. His durability doesn't really scale to his AP, as he's able to soften and harden his body in order to do certain acts, like holding a bomb, punch someone across the lake, and fight the Hulk. This is impressive for a number of reasons, with the Hulk having numerous strength feats, with the Hulk at his highest amount of strength at the time, being able to punch time. Yes, you heard me, punch time. With him being able to fight Red Hulk, a character that scales directly to normal Green Hulk. Sandman can also make sandy weapons like hammers and other such weapons. He can also swirl around a person and suffocate them, along with him being able to just create massive boulders and launch them at people. By merging with sand, he can increase in size, like how he did near this Ferris wheel. He also can merge with the Sahara Desert, which the Sahara Desert is larger than mountains. I just want to get that across to you. Sandman's potential peak is greater then mountains. Yeah. Um then we get into Sandman's, weaknesses, or, how his body works, as there's one small grain of sand where his brain is. And if it's per and it can be grabbed, but seeing as how he can move around several tons or even country-sized pieces of sand, I think it's going to be a hard time. It's going to be hard for Kakashi to grab that piece of sand. And the only way Spider-Man was able to get it was because he mentioned Sandman's daughter and got his soul, consciousness, agitated enough to the point he was able to see that grain of sand light up in anger and catch it. But moving on to Sandman's weaknesses, we got him being glass. Yes, it is technically a weakness, but he has learned to adapt to it over the years and still walk around as Glass Man, with him being able to control each of the shards of glass he is and shred a person or just turn them into glass. He also has a resistance to water, with him being able to match his foe Hydro Man, who, just like him, can shapeshift his body into his element, which is water. It takes a enormous amount of water to be able to make Sandman weaker, but it does allow him to be punched apart far easier than he would without it. With characters that he scales to, or in some cases above, like when he fought Thing, now being able to punch him apart due to him being wet now. Jewels, money, no matter how much I take, I want more, much more, and with my great power, nothing can stop me from getting it. Electro is able to fight characters like She-Hulk and send her flying, with She-Hulk scaling to mountain level characters like Luke Cage, and Luke Cage does scale above Spider-Man, with Electro also being able to fly around and ride on lightning along with Blast Spider-Man and harm him to the point he's on the ground. With Spider-Man having city level scaling. Electro can also, just like Sandman, his body is attuned to his element. With Electro being pure energy, he can disguise himself as a living lightning storm and just sort of pretend to be a part of a storm just so he can get the drop on people. He can also absorb energy to the point that he can become a god that is strong enough to hurt Thor. You heard me. Electro can become powerful enough to hurt Thor. Now, he is also quite precise with his powers, with him being able to shoot bullets out of the air. And as I stated before, he's living energy and can also sense it. So, as such, he would be able to tell where other forms of energy are. Plus, with his absorption, he's able to absorb magical forms of energy as well as physical forms of energy like microwave energy or plain old electricity or cosmic energy from the likes of from characters like Thor or whatever. His main the main way some characters beat him, like Spider-Man, is by wearing rubber gloves and punching him in the face really hard. But Electro learned how to increase the heat in a certain attack that just burns through the glove and hurts his opponent a little bit. Electro can also be trapped in wall outlets and other stuff like that and have his energy redirected somewhere else. But he is quite unstoppable, with him arguably being the most powerful Sinister Six member right across from Sandman. Then I endeavor to exceed your expectations. Let others settle for greatness, Max. I'll always strive to be superior. Now onto Ox Arms. He has the striking power to exceed Spider-Man's durability, who scales to city level, and has the ability to outpace Spider-Man if given, well, sufficient ability. Well, by sufficient ability, I mean more times than not, he wins his altercations with Spider-Man if Spider-Man's not using any tricks on him. And his arms have sonic blasters and smoke bombs to be able to get the drop on specific opponents. And the arms themselves are electric proof, with them being able to block an arc of electricity from Electro. And depending on the artist, they have varying lengths, with the most decent way I can find them being able to be half the size of a building. He's also super precise with them, being able to block bullets in the air. Uh, he, the arms themselves actually have a mind of their own if Ock is knocked out. So even from things as mild as steam, they'll get him out of a jam and stop his foe from chasing him by slamming the area around him to create debris so he can have an easier time of escaping. Then you have the arms being able to also adapt to their surroundings and make a plan to escape with the arms if they're detached, still being able to fight Spider-Man. Yes, you heard that. The arms, even detached, can be a match for Peter Parker. Now, moving on to Ock's body, we're starting off with his spider sense. The spider sense grants him the ability to track danger around him, with it being able to directionally give him warnings on everything going on, even cosmic events that characters like the Watcher, Doctor Strange, and Silver Surfer are aware of. And even as I stated, directionally with Morbius, and even on a character's arrival like Kang, or on something that isn't even happening to him but could pose a threat to him, like a gun. He also can it also helps with decision making overall, with it being able to help him defuse a bomb and let him know that people are staring at him when he's in a compromised position, or just help with poker. With the wall crawling abilities, I could also just rip out the Sharingan from Kakashi's eyes if he gets the chance. He also can just stick to solid surfaces, so if Kakashi tries to kick him away, if Ak grabs his arm, there's a chance that Kakashi would just rip off some of his own skin. Uh, Now, moving on to the webbing, Ak can create things like parachutes and slingshots to help with mobility, but that's not the best thing, as it can block the Human Torch's fire when he was angry at Spider Man. And the Human Torch isn't someone to be taken lightly, as he has multiple examples of a Nova Flame attack, which, yes, is star level. Because in my own way, Spider Man, I am a man of honor, and you are a foe worthy of my respect. He is strong and fast enough to be able to keep pace with the original Spider Man and even beat, get the better of Kane, a murderous version of Spider Man, with him having, with Craven also having the added bonus of, immortality. He can come back from the dead in 3 days, uh, with the attack that killed him being him blowing his brains out with a gun. And in the event Grim Knight, Craven died when his son killed him while he was cosplaying as Spider Man. So, the only way Craven can die is if he's cosplaying as Spider Man. Keep that in your minds, folks. Craven is also quite agile with him being able to, keep pace with Spider Man, but also just uh, leap up above buildings and, as I stated before, keep up with Spider Man characters that also have spider senses. He also has developed his own form of martial arts that is based on other animals with his own. You can look at this yourselves, folks, but it's surprising that Craven has the same level of skill on Marvel power levels as Captain America. Craven is also a master of animals as well. With one example, he trained a falcon, I think it's a falcon, to claw out a person's throat. Craven also is specific with his weapons and gadgets, with him prepping against Spider Man, making his signature lion vest have nipple lasers that shoot out of it that bypass a person's durability and attack their nervous system, messing with their powers. This debuffs Spider Man's speed, but for characters like Iceman, who's immune, that has cryokinesis, his ice instantly melted and it let Craven open up for a stabbing shot. And he can also still keep fighting while the nipple lasers are firing, so they don't really have a activation move. Basically, it would disrupt Kakashi from basically doing anything other than trying to fight back. Craven also has poison-tipped blades like a spear and also knives, but he most famously uses spears. He is also a master with, since he's a hunter, traps. He tricked Tigra into thinking that she got into his base successfully without triggering any alarm, when in reality he trapped her in a giant cage and made her think she got away scot-free, along with tricking Spider-Man into this situation where he tested his reflexes and made these magnetic gauntlets that essentially uh, made Spider-Man's ability to move lessened on one side of his body, essentially debuffing Spider-Man's combat ability and movement speed at the same time. Uh, Overall, Craven has a lot going for him, and there's a lot I left out for Craven, mainly his skills, but we'll get to that with the battle. Now, moving on to Kakashi Hakate. In the shinobi world, those that break the written and unwritten rules are deemed trash. But be that as it may, those that would disregard their comrades so easily are even worse than trash. And those who don't have the decency to respect their memories of their comrades are the worst. Kakashi at this point is able to keep up with light speed opponents like Sasuke from the Five Kage Summit, with Sasuke being able to fight and keep up with the Fourth Raikage, with him being explicitly stated several times in the data books to be light speed. There are also several examples in the show of characters being able to react to light speed stuff, but we'll get to that later. Right now, right now though, we're going to have we're going to look at Kakashi. Uh, Kakashi scales directly uh to this version of Sasuke, who can uh take not take blows, but certainly survive them from the lowest level of A, who can defeat one of the stronger Bijus, with even the One Tails being able to blow apart mountains with Biju bombs. Biju bombs are calced to be multi-continental due to the amount of power it takes to vaporize a mountain. Kakashi, also being a ninja in Naruto, relies on chakra, and chakra is the thing that keeps his whole body running. Basically, it's tied to his stamina as well. So, he would need to be able to have high control over it, to be able to walk on water and on solid surfaces. He has created many deadly techniques, one being the lightning one being the lightning blade. This is a electric blade that can cut through lightning bolts and other surges of energy, along with him being able to shoot out a lightning dog. Then there is the water shark jutsu, water shark bomb, which can absorb attacks that are lesser than it in power, but it can, but it can't be directionalized, so someone could just dodge it. And then there's the Earth Mud Wall Jutsu, which is basically a wall for mud. Mud wall. Basically, it's just a barrier that can be used whenever, wherever. It's calced to be a multi black level at this time. All of Kakashi's jutsu sort of scale around the range. I would say they all scale below continental at this time, but certainly above multi-city block level. I would, especially with the Raikiri being able to pierce through uh, the panes. And then we have the Sharingan. With this activated, it takes away a lot of Kakashi's chakra, but in turn it gives him the ability to uh, have photographic reflexes, allowing him to copy a person's movements, whether it be hand-to-hand combat or their abilities. But as for this, it's not like Marvel characters have chakra, so he can't really copy their abilities. And it also grants him the ability to implant mental suggestions with genjutsu, although they aren't OP. They do allow him to do sleight of hand type stuff, allowing him to confuse his opponents. But we have the more dangerous technique, him being able to pull people into another dimension called Kamui, which can which is a battlefield removal and is a obvious win con for Kakashi, with Kamui just summoning itself onto a opponent. It's an instant win move that does knock him out after several uses. By several, I mean at the beginning of Shippuden, it no, sorry, Shippuden, uh it took 2 uses of Kamui and then he was knocked out. He didn't use it again, I believe, until the 5 Kage Summit, where he blocked a attack from Sasuke and was huffing and puffing afterwards, mainly due to the stress of trying to keep up with the attack. But overall, this move is pretty good for taking away opponents' advantages. Now, moving into the actual fight, it's going to be very short as we have to talk about one character in specific, Electro. And it's because of his absorption, as when he absorbs specific cosmic and magic energy, he can grow stronger or strong enough to hurt Thor. And combine that with his energy sensing, he'd be able to tell that all of Kakashi's techniques aren't really, well, what they seem to be, so he can just get around his weakness to water by absorbing the water shark bomb or the water bullet or the water wave or the water dragon. Same with the mud wall, being able to completely erode most of Kakashi's abilities. Even the Sharingan and the Genjutsu will become uh, null and void, as he'd be able to absorb the Genjutsu implanted into someone while it's happening. So basically, Electro is not just a handicap for Kakashi, but also Kakashi's greatest threat, as he could just absorb the Raikiri or any of his attacks and just keep on pounding into him. Then we got Sandman, who can challenge the Hulk, which, because of this, I'm gonna give it to Sandman here. Kakashi probably won't live through a single attack thrown. I'm sorry for any Naruto fan, but really, you also have Doc Ock, Vulture, Craven, and Mysterio. With Sandman, he is also able to just smack him around, plus add on all his versatility, along with the fact that if Kakashi does disperse him and he does get that piece of him turned into mud, he just has to wait a long time for the sand to dry up and then return back to him. So quite literally, Sandman is kind of unbeatable, and combine that with his water resistance, it's not really like Sandman has a lot of losses here, and combine that with his consciousness being somewhere else in his body, the fact that he can fly, and the fact he can move anywhere on his body sort of makes it hard for you to argue that Kakashi would be able to hit him at all with Kamui, as Data escaped by detaching his arm, and Sandman could do the same but even better. Same with Electro. And Craven, he, I don't think he would do the same, but Mysterio could possibly do the same. And Ock would have danger sense, so it's not exactly a fair fight. And speaking of Mysterio, this dude, if Kakashi would need to take him out first in order to win the fight. But there's Vulture who would just swoop him up before he gets hit, as Vulture's flying around, and as such, he's not exactly going to be hit by a bunch of Kakashi's long-ranged attacks, and would need to be hit by Kamui first. And based off of what I said about the others, who all have long-range attacks, like Sandman elongating his arms to hit him, Doc Ock doing the same with either webbing or his mechanical arms, same with Electro or anyone. Mysterio is sort of the one that would also fuck up Kakashi and get him to try and run into a trap. And speaking of traps, Craven, if he does die in a hand-to-hand fight against Kakashi, and Kakashi runs away from the rest of the 6, Craven and the group also have 3 more days. When Craven does return, he normally puts in time and effort into tracking down and killing his opponent by putting all his resources out there, as he is uber rich and highly skilled, with him being called the greatest hunter in all of history. But that all pales in comparison to the Spider Sense. This would allow practically the whole team to get the drop on Kakashi, as it also alerts people to a character's presence, and since since Ock can also just manipulate the arms as well, it's sort of really hard to get around Ock's sensory abilities. I will hand this to Kakashi. He would be able to just chop the arms up with the lightning blade, but the problem is the arms themselves can just attack while after they're dismembered, or use the gas, not gas, smoke bombs, or sonic blasters after they're detached. The so getting to the main point, there's also just Craven's nipple lasers. Everything about the 6 is a counter to Kakashi. And some might say, well, if this was such a stomp, why'd you make the video? Well, to be honest, I was intrigued by people telling me on Discord that it was going to be a stomp in favor of Kakashi, and so I wanted to see it for myself. I did research for Kakashi. He's in every single form after the War Arc, he is severely faster than the speed of light. In every single form before Part 1, he has worse stamina, he has worse abilities, and he also doesn't have Kamui, which would help him get rid of some of the members. But then there's also the cloning lab Ock has, which I'm sorry I didn't talk about it, but Ock also has a cloning lab that can be used to bring himself back from the dead when he was turned into stone. So if being turned into stone was enough to kill him, I think being erased from this reality would mean that it would mean that he would be able to be brought back as well. That the computers would sense his life sign isn't anywhere, and they would just make a new body. And Ock himself is also called the Master Planner, so working with Mysterio and Craven, he would come up with a really good plan, while Craven, Sandman, and Electro are fighting Kakashi. So, all after all that, I wanted to say sorry if it's a little anticlimactic, but the truth is the Sinister Six stomp Kakashi, well, Pain Art Kakashi slash 5 Kage Summit Kakashi. Hit the like button if you like the video. Thank you for watching. Hit the bell if you want to see when new videos show up. And have a wonderful day.